Can you just explain to everybody a little bit about the past 4 years at USC and the 3 pillars of this creative process that you just learned?
Okay, so I was a popular music vocalist at the Thornton School of Music, but the process that I'm about to explain to you is the underpinnings of the Thornton School of Music program and the basis of our entire curriculum. So I will give credit to Chris Sampson, the founder of the program. Love you. And he's the one that shined some light on this process for me and gave it a name and gave it context in my project. So thank you. In order to tell you how, I used a process/method that is the underpinnings of my entire program. It's what we do at Thornton for 4 years, and then we learn how to do it ourselves before we graduate so we can create whatever we want. And the process is 3 steps: emulation, assimilation, and innovation.
Okay, hold on a second. So 3 steps are
emulation, which means to imitate, to match or surpass some kind of achievement that you want. So that means pick something that you're inspired by, pick somewhere you want to go, pick somebody who has more money than you that you want, pick somebody that has a house you want, anything, a North Star, pick a North Star and break it down. What does that thing have that you don't? Line it all out. So for me, I picked Sarah Bareilles and Brandy, who are 2 of my favorite artists, and I broke them down. They're both strong, powerful, fierce. They both can songwrite, they can sing, they can play instruments, they can arrange, they can produce. They're advocates. They are powerful in their career. They collaborate, those kinds of things. Once I broke them down, then it was time for me to assimilate, which is step 2. And assimilate is the 10,000 hour rule. Step 1, you find a North Star or it will find you.
Yes.
Now you're in emulation phase. And here are the 3 pillars.
You can't start emulation phase until you have a North Star?
I don't think so.
Wow.
You got to have somewhere to go.
Can you start the emulation process by simply saying, I just don't want to be where I am?
Yes, but I think it gives you an anchor when you have somewhere to go. And I think that
it could just be the opposite of where you are. I mean, if you're somebody who's, you know what I'm saying? Amy, what are you thinking?
I think the emulation phase is so brilliant because picking the North Star is something I think a lot of people don't even realize they can do. You know, like they just feel like, this is me. This is who I'm always going to be. I can't change who I am. I'm not really sure about learning new skills. They don't even think about, doing the research, looking at other people. And I just think that alone is brilliant. Mm-hmm. That alone gives you a life jacket. That alone gives you that step up to closer to the person who you want to become. Just knowing like your number one, you can just look at them and figure out how they did it. Okay, brilliant. Like, duh. Yeah. Like, okay.
Or I mean, say that you're the person you want to be more like, your North Star, whatever you want to call it, is Bill Gates. You might not want to be exactly like him in all walks of life, but there might be one thing he does that you want to emulate. Like, it doesn't have to be their entire persona. For me, for my specific project, it was because I'm obsessed with and in love with their artistry, which is what I want to emulate. But for you, it can be one tiny sliver of somebody's character.
I have somebody like that. Do you have somebody like that, Amy?
I have a tiny sliver example, but I want to hear your example.
No, I want to hear yours first.
Well,
you look like you don't want to say it out loud.
Now I'm like, why did I say this? Because I have to reveal my dirty secret, which is I used to watch the Housewives series on Bravo like all the time.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was, yeah.
Does our producer Andrea know?
Yes, she knows.
Because she used to be Andy Cohen's
yes,
EP.
Yes.
Okay.
She and I have a lot of deep conversations about that. But anyway, a very simple example. I remember there was one woman on the show that was, of course, always controversial and fucking things up, but also really super fun and kind. And I noticed she would say like a couple of words that I would never say to people. And it's not what you think. She would call people love, like say, hey, love, how are you today? How are you doing? And I just thought that was just the kindest, most beautiful thing to say to somebody. Oh, thanks, love. I appreciate that, And so that was like that sliver where she was, this is a super tiny sliver, but she was my North Star. And I like got up the courage to start talking like her and start being really open and being kinder to people. And now that's a part of my vernacular. You know, I say that all the time, like, hey, love, how's it going?
You do.
But that was not me in the beginning. That was not who I was. And I'm really glad that I did that without knowing the entire process. But yeah, that's what I did. And I feel good about that.
Do you have one for that
Like a
you
bigger
want
one?
Yeah, that you want to commence now.
A thing that I want to start doing now,
Yeah.
probably get to the point a little faster.
No.
A thing that
If you were graduating and you were going to commence,
yes,
what is it?
it would be from the school of rock hard bodies and incredible muscular abs. That's the school I would want to graduate from. Yeah, I want to do like a little bit of a body makeover. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. Right? So who would I emulate?
Who's your dream body? North Star.
Yeah. I'd have to check my Instagram and get their real names.
Well, let's say it's
yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow
Okay.
or Jennifer Aniston.
More of realistic for me. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, well, I wasn't sure if we were going.
Thanks,
maybe,
love.
I wasn't sure if we were maybe going.
Yeah.
Maybe
I like
younger,
that.
same
Yeah.
age, little
No,
older.
it was risky waters that you
Okay.
jumped
You know
into
what?
and you did it.
You
so
know what?
that was
Jennifer Aniston is my dream body.
Okay.
So
All right.
Now we're on the same page.
Now you know what I'm talking about.
Her and Just Go With It, the Hawaii scene.
There you go. You want to be like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I need to look that up now.
Yeah,
I don't ever recall seeing her in a bathing suit.
We'll stitch that in.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So
Anyway, let's
Yes.
say that she is your dream body as she
Yes.
is mine. So you break her down.
yes,
What
she
does
does
she do?
a lot of yoga.
Okay, a lot of yoga. And like every single thing she does,
Yeah.
you don't have to do every single little thing, but learn a lot about what she does and
Yeah.
start to assimilate it, which
That's
is step 2.
Yes.
Too. Okay.
Start to weave it into your own makeup, into your own being, into your own everyday life.
Yeah.
Do yoga more, eat more greens, whatever she's doing.
Right.
Then at the end, innovate. You're going to have to put your own Amy twist on it because what you
into
need
it.
to do to get your dream body is not going to be exactly what she's going to do.
And it won't look exactly like hers.
No, but
But-
being able to break her down and adding some of her qualities into your everyday will help you get to your own version of that dream body.
Yeah.
That makes a ton of sense. Let's hear a word from our sponsors real quick. And when we come back, Ken, I got another question for you because I'm really curious about this North Star moment. Once you determined that Brandy Norwood and Sarah Bareilles were your North Stars, I want you to see if you can break down the exact steps that you took next, because I think it'll help all of us apply this to our lives. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Mel Robbins. I am so thrilled that you're here with us. I'm sitting here with two people I love. Our daughter, Kendall Robbins, who just graduated from University of Southern California, and one of my closest friends, Amy, who also works for 143 Studios. And we've been talking about identifying a North Star, which is a person that you really admire or want to emulate in your own life. And our daughter, Kendall, had just explained that she had identified that Brandy Norwood and Sarah Bareilles were her North Stars when she decided she wanted to be a singer-songwriter. So Ken, once you had those two identified, what the heck do you do next? Like, what's the step-by-step process?
Now it was time for me to learn how to be a producer, how to be an arranger, how to be an advocate, how to collaborate, all of those kinds of things that I didn't already have. And that will be the biggest chunk of your journey and will take a long time. For me, it took up to 4 years. It's a lifelong journey, so it will take for the rest of my life, for the rest of the time that I'm on this earth. And then once I was done assimilating those qualities that, for example, Brandy Norwood and Sarah Bareilles have in their artistry and in their humanity, it was time for me to create something of my own. And so once I had all the skills that I had to be a producer, and the skills to be an arranger, and the skills to be an advocate, and the skills to be a collaborator and a songwriter and a singer, etc., I then went and created my own music. And inherently it will have my own twist on it, and it will have my own flavors of Kendall Robbins on it that Brandy Norwood and Sarah Bareilles will never have. But that's just the beauty of creating something of your own, is that it will always be a reflection of you because you're the art. And I think this process of, I'm going to line it out for you one more time. Emulation, number 1, assimilation, number 2, innovation, number 3, is a process you can all use to get wherever you want in life, whether you're an interior designer or you're a banker or you're a mom or you're a sister or you are an artist like me. You can use this process in your life to close the gap between where you're at currently and where you want to go.
I think this is fascinating. And I can see how I can do this in my life, which is why I'm glad we're talking about this, especially with the example that you gave, Amy. But for the sake of everyone listening, can you make this even more granular, Ken? Especially that first part, because I know that's where we're all going to get tripped up. How do you get started once you have the North Star, that kind of person or that thing that you want to emulate, that phase where you start imitating? How do you get moving on that?
I can explain my program and how it's structured that way.
Yeah, in
and
the
how it
3
makes
pillars.
sense.
Will you do that?
So first and second year of USC, in my program, it's popular music performance, and there are popular music performance vocalists, popular music performance songwriters, bass players, drummers, guitar players, piano players, etc., instrumentalists and singers. And our professors put you into bands. 1 drummer, 3 singers, 1 bass player, you get the deal. And they assign you different songs per week. And the repertoire begins in the 50s all the way through early 2000s into present day pop songs that we cover in class. And so on the first week of class, you get songs from the 50s and the 60s, and they assign these songs to you, and you learn them, and you learn how to emulate them, how to imitate them, which is step 1.
Can I just stop right there? I thought this was really interesting because this was not like the popular music shows that you see where you're supposed to sing somebody's song but do it in your own way sort of thing. This was very specific emulating. Step 1, meaning they had you singing these songs from the 50s that a lot of you are like, are you freaking kidding me? This song is so stupid. And you were graded on, if you're a drummer, can you imitate that drum technique and pattern of that exact artist? Like they're making
down to the 16th note, down to the millisecond of the song. How accurately can you imitate it? How accurately can you replicate what the original instrumentalist or artist or group of artists did together? You're graded based on how accurately you can emulate it. So for me, it was the intonation, the phrasing, the riffs, the runs, the notes. So for the first 2 years of my program, that's all we did. Every single song we were assigned, that was the objective. It wasn't to sound like Kendall. It wasn't to be the best I could be and do all my runs and do all my riffs and belt as much as I could. It was to sound exactly like the artist. And the point of that is so you can start to understand the building blocks of popular music. But I mean, for any of you listeners, it could be to just understand where you want to go.
You talked about closing that gap, Kendall. When you see the gap, it is so overwhelming because you feel so far away. Like, how did you feel when you were in high school as a graduate, or even right now? How far away as a high school graduate did you feel from somebody like a Sarah Bareilles or a Brandy Norwood?
So far, the furthest. And I still feel very, very far from that. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
But is there a difference in how you view the gap?
I'm already there.
What do you mean?
I feel like I already have all of the skills that I need to have to be a professional recording touring artist. I'm just getting closer and closer to her and building and building and building. But like, I think I already have the skills and the tools and the knowledge. It's just figuring out how to apply them and figuring out how to apply them in a way that gets me to where I want to go.
I agree with you.
I don't think that we should call it a gap. Gap implies that it's a loss, and it's not.
Yes.
The most beautiful thing in life is that space, because you're going to grow and you're going to learn and you're going to fail and you're going to screw up and you're going to meet people you love and meet people you hate and meet friends you don't want. But thinking about it as a gap is, you're never going to get there if you think about it as a gap. It's the road you get to travel. It's about the journey, not about like,
Yes.
Don't think about it as the gap. That's step 1.
Yes. But step 2 is I want you to think about it as like gaining something.
It's like a lily pad effect. Every lily pad you light up is yours now to keep.
Yes. And so and the second thing, though, that people feel when they look at that moment of commencement and they look out into the future and they see all the things I got to gain along the way and all this, it doesn't feel like an opportunity. And also, people have no idea how to start. And so, one of the things that I found to be really interesting about your presentation is that you took Sarah Bareilles and Brandy Norwood, and they were your North Star. But then you divided them into 3 categories of character, skill, and what was the other one? Career. And by dividing it into 3 categories, you now made it concrete. What are the skills that I need to gain? What is the character attributes I need to gain? What are the aspects of their career in terms of their experience that I need to gain?
Well, let me just correct you. Not need, want.
Great. That
Want
I want
to gain.
Okay, so why is it important to say want versus need?
Because need implies that if you don't have it, you're at a loss. You don't need it. You just want it, and that's beautiful.
Well, I think want, it's more motivating.
Yeah, that too.
That's right, because I slipped into the language of gap and loss. Oh my God, I need that thing or else I'm not going to get there. If you talk about it in the abundant language of gaining something, all of those things are opportunities to gain something that help you walk closer to the future you. And so I'm curious, though, because not everybody wants to be a recording artist. Some people listening are like, I just want to date somebody, or I really want to be healthy. Or for me, I see this applying very much, these 3 pillars and these 3 steps to how do I get my personal financial life in order? I've been living in this mode, I think, of scarcity and fear ever since your dad and I were nearly bankrupt well over 15 years ago. And I want to graduate from that. I want to commence a whole new way of operating. And there's a lot of skills and habits and support that I need to gain on the road ahead. And I just would love to hear you talk about, okay, you identified Brandy and Sarah, but what would you recommend, or what was the next step in trying to figure out, okay, well, how do I break apart who this person is to help me start to think about what I need to gain or what I want to gain? Got to catch myself there.
For me, it didn't require very much research because I feel as though I have an intimate relationship with these 2 artists, although they don't know that I exist.
Why do you feel like you have an intimate relationship?
I've been listening to their music for all of time, and I've spent thousands of hours on YouTube watching their interviews and reading articles about them and reading their books and just consuming everything they put out into the world. And so I think for all of you people that maybe want to get into a relationship or start eating healthy or making more money or so on and so forth, you might not necessarily have as crystal clear of a North Star like I did, because I think my career warrants a lot more North Stars. But for example, for you want to graduate from your scarcity mindset in your finances. You might not necessarily have a Brandy or a Sarah, an actual human being that exists on this earth that you want to be exactly more like. So what instead you could do is think about that future version of you. What does the future version of Mel look like, who is financially abundant and has an abundant relationship to it? What are her characteristics? What does her career look like? What are her skill sets? Like, you can imagine yourself in a future, like imagine your future self who's eating healthy. What does she feel like every day? How does she talk to her friends? How does she move through the world? How does she wake up in the morning? Break that down. You can create it from nothing. Or you can look at Women's Health magazine and pick someone from in there and break them down and do the same thing. I mean, there are North Stars everywhere, but if you're feeling lost, I think the first step is finding something or someone, and it can be the future version of you, to inspire yourself. You need to be inspired.
I agree. And for me with the financial thing, I didn't have a North Star. I just knew I was sick and tired of feeling either out of control or irresponsible or very reactive in that part of my life, and that I wanted to graduate from that and commence something new. And the second that I made that decision, right, that I'm just going to graduate from this, I got to end this, I got to start something new, North Stars start to show up. But what I liked about your particular process is I think those 3 columns are genius. So I want to make sure you listening have these. Declare what you want to graduate from so that something new can commence. If you don't have a North Star, simply saying, I don't want to do it like this anymore. Like, I'm done with college. I'm ready for the rest of my life, even though I don't know what the fuck the rest of my life looks like. For me, it was just like, I'm done feeling like this. I'm done operating like this. I got to figure this out. I want to be proud of myself in this area of my life. And I didn't know what that meant. And so just declaring it started to have all kinds of stuff show up. Like the first thing that happened is Ramit came onto the podcast suddenly. The guy, I Can Make You Rich. And that got my wheels turning. And the second thing that happened is I spent a weekend with a bunch of women that are friends of mine that have similar businesses who are way more successful than me. And as I sat around listening to them, I'm like, wait, you do what? Wait, depreciate what? Wait, what do you do? You have a, huh? And I started to feel that gap. And then because you had shown me this 3-step thing, I'm like, wait a minute, I got to flip this. I can gain these experiences. I can gain these skills. I can gain this character that I don't have right now. And so the 3 columns that I think could be applied in any situation are the skills or doing the sit-ups or doing the abs. But there is something deeper in this step 1 process that your research allowed you to tap into. And, you asked me kind of what's an example of a North Star for me. It's probably a North Star for a lot of people, and that's The Rock. I am so inspired by him, and there's a particular aspect about him that I love, and it's all in the character piece. It's in the fact that it's so clear that he's such a great guy. It is so clear that he is a person that's out there for the everyday person. It's so clear that he's so generous and humble and kind, and I also admire him in that he's got such diverse businesses. It seems like anything he's interested in, he's like, whoop, pivot, energy drink. Whoop, pivot, we're doing shoes. Whoop, pivot, we're launching the XL NFL League. Whoop, pivot, I'm going to do this superhero movie. Whoop, pivot, I'm going to go do this thing. And I love that about him.
You're fired up. I think this is a good example of like North Stardom that
I want to commence that.
So yeah, you got the fire in the belly about The Rock.
And so I've never, though, been able to get past North Star. And I can think about the moment when I was like, there's my North Star. It was a singular Instagram post where he had a photo of him at this huge board table. And it was him and the person that runs $7, their production company, the origin of which is that when he moved to LA, he only had $7 in his pocket. And he had this huge team of people, and they were launching the tequila brand, or they had already launched the tequila brand, and they were about to launch the energy drink, and they had their, partnership with Under Armour. And I went, oh my gosh, wait a minute. He's not doing this alone. Oh, wait a minute. He got really into, there's a team of people that he builds these things with.
Yeah.
I need a team of people. I started to realize, oh, wait, there are things I need to gain. Will I ever be him? Of course not. But for me, he's this North Star because it seems like he graduates all the time. He graduates from being a professional wrestler, right? And then he graduates from that role to something else. And then he graduates from that role to something else that he commences. He's always beginning something and gaining skills, but never, ever seems to lose contact with that character piece. And you can see it even in the $7. Like the fact that he named his company after this idea of starting with almost nothing. And so I am really inspired by that. And I realize I got to get serious about doing step 1 of emulating. And that means doing this research and breaking this all down.
I think one of the things I like is also that you talk about how you look at the rock and you're kind of like, well, how do I get there from here? Like, how do I do that? And this process gives you like, okay, break it down. I feel like there are a lot of different parts of this process where people stop. Number 1, they would stop by not knowing that they could get a North Star. Number 2, they could stop by being like, well, how do I get to be like the rock? I mean, like, you know, like
the gap is
right, huge.
It's an opportunity to gain things.
Definitely, I'm not
And
picking
I
him
want
for my
to.
muscles.
I don't need to. Yes.
Goals. I don't want to pick him for that. But so you could stop there and you could be like, you know what? I'm just never going to be like him. I'm never going to be like him. But then we have this breakdown. What's his character like? What are his skills like? What's his career like? Okay, I could put my hooks into that. Like I could do that homework and get
these are things that I want.
Like Kendall's saying, yeah, these are things that I want. And you're not going to be him. You're going to get closer. And how good is that going to feel? Mm-hmm. That's going to feel amazing. Like you must have felt great during this process no.
Well,
did you?
No, yeah. I mean, to be completely frank, I did my entire senior project and talked all about all of these different attributes that I had gained over my time at USC and all of these different skill sets that I had been working on. And it wasn't until a week before my presentation that my mentor, Chris Sampson, shout out again, founder of the USC pop music program, gave me this process as context. He said, okay, yes, you've been doing all of these things. You've been adding all these characteristics and qualities and skill sets and techniques to your artistry and your persona. But there's no project here. You need to describe how you did it. How did you do this? How did you become this producer and this arranger and this kind and this funny and this humor and your perspective? And he gave me the context of this process. So I can promise you that this has been happening for your entire life. This is the way that we live in the world. This is literally the way that we move through the world. It's the way not only that artists create, but that humans create. It's the only way. You see you're a finance dude. You see another company do something. Boom, the process happens. You just don't have context for it. The concept of being inspired by something and creativity is just an idea comes to you. An idea, a North Star, whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing.
I love that.
So the first step is emulate, which means to match or surpass a person or achievement, typically by imitation. That's the first step. And in order to do that, to match or surpass an achievement, you've got to break it down. You need to do the research. You need to understand it. What are they doing? You can do what I did, which will include my slide. I broke my 2 North Star artists into their skill sets, their characteristics, their character, and their career. Yours might look different, but those are maybe some guiding lights you can use. And assimilate means to take in information, ideas, or culture and understand them fully.
So how do you do that? So what is that? How is that different than the process of studying this North Star?
So you study your North Star. For example, yours is the rock. And you say, oh, I love that he has 9 businesses.
Mm-hmm.
You look at his 9 businesses and you pull them apart and you see what they do. That's emulation. You have every little detail of the business. How many people work for them? What are they? What are they registered as? How much money are they making a year? What's their target audience? All that kind of stuff. You haven't started doing that for yourself yet. You've just identified it.
Yeah.
No, I've sat and watched and been in awe.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think
now
I've
it's
been
time
in the
for you
gap.
to take in that information, that idea, that culture, and understand it fully.
Or you're not going to graduate, Mel.
And not only to understand it fully means to digest it, means to put it in an EpiPen and shove it in your leg. Understand it, consume it, practice it, get in the library, read the book, figure out how to grow your audience to the exact same size that The Rock has his.
If you're watching a movie and about this is the music montage moment of the change.
Yes.
Right? It's like that moment where the girl gets the ice skates time and time again, grabbing the ice skates at 6 a.m, going to the rink. Sweating it out, taking a shower, going to school.
It's the 10,000 hour rule.
Yes.
To master
It's a
something,
music
it
montage.
requires 10,000 hours of practicing it. And I did that over 4 years. I took classes. I took lessons with my professors. I studied in my room. I sang 100 million songs.
This is my favorite part.
This is the longest part of the journey, and it's the most beautiful part because so many other things come to you while it's happening, while you're trying to take all of these qualities and characteristics of your North Stars and put them into yourself. You're going to find new things out about yourself that are part of your journey that you'd never known.
Yes. I love that. I love that you said it's the most beautiful part because I think that's the part I'm most in love with too. And I think there's a romantic aspect to it of you taking on a different way of being in your own life, you know, and that you're purposely doing it to feed your own happiness, to explore a skill and deepen it. Like, I just think there's so much beauty to that.
Okay, so I know I keep going granular, but I love this 3-step process because I love a framework that helps you locate yourself inside of something that takes a long time. I haven't even started the emulation phase because I haven't done the research. I've admired, I've longed for, I've felt the gap.
Well, that's step 0.
Right. But I haven't done the research, like for real. How do you know, or do you know, when you get to that part when you stop looking at that North Star and realize that you've become it?
No, because you'll never become it.
Really?
I'm never going to be Sarah, and I'm never going to be Brandy, and you're never going to be The Rock.
No, but don't you become your own North Star when you start innovating?
Yeah. I think that, well, what I'm going to say, which I think you need to include in the podcast, and which is why I'm going to debunk the statement you just said, is that this process never ends. It's not a close the gap. It's a circle. It's not a, okay, circle's done, check, we're good, we're off. No. The second you get to innovate, I wrote a song 2 weeks ago. I found a new artist I'm falling in love with. Process starts again. You create that business that The Rock starts, boom, you see a tequila company that you want that has nothing to do with The Rock. It starts again. Not to mention, within each step, this is kind of going to get confusing, but within each step, the process is happening within each step. Within emulation, it's going emulation, assimilation, innovation. You're innovating in the emulation step. You're emulating in the assimilate. Like, it's all happen. It's a circle inside of a circle inside of a circle inside of a circle over and over and over and over and over, which to me means that you've always been the North Star. You always will be the North Star. And it's just a trusting in the fact that you're just expanding. It's not getting somewhere. It's just like, do you know what I mean?
I totally
don't
know what you
think
mean.
about it as like,
I think about Brandy and Sarah Bareilles as a directional signal, not a destination.
the process that I just went through, emulation, assimilation, innovation in my senior project. If Brandy and Sarah are over here, I'm expanding this way, but then boom, there's something over there that I want, then I'm expanding this way. Boom, there's something over there that I want, I'm expanding it. Oh, there's something down here, I'm going this way. Oh, there's something that way, I'm going that way. Like, it's just a constant expansion of yourself. And I don't think that if it helps you to think about it in a 1, 2, 3, so be it. But I think the beauty of this process is that it's not about the destination that you get to, because you're never going to arrive where you want to be. Why do you think, this is something that my professors always tell me, but people like Bill Gates, people like all of the Motown artists that created some of the greatest records in the world, they're still making music. Some of the greatest scientists in the world are still trying to figure out different hypotheses that they come up with every day. Why do you think they're still doing that? They haven't arrived yet. There's always more to create. There's always more to get to. There's always more that you're going to want to be. And if they thought they'd figured it out, they would have stopped. There would be no more music in the generations above you.
It's not about figuring out. It's about the creative process itself.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what this is. It's not about becoming the North Star. It's about...
You are the North Star.
Yes. It's about just figuring out what you want to figure out in the world. And it's about figuring out what that even means. Yes, I'm my own North Star, but who am I? That's what this is about. Not to get all
No, I love
woo
getting
woo
all
and
woo-woo.
higher power.
I love
but
that.
who am I? That's what we're kind of here to figure out. And that's just what everyone else is trying to figure out.
Well, and here's why I love tying the process of changing your life to the creative process, because you start to feel lost and disconnected and stuck in life and purposeless when you stop creating and when you stop growing. And it's through the creative process of having something that you are drawn toward that you can help yourself grow and you can keep yourself creating new things. And I would say that the reason why the Motown artists continue to create music, and the reason why researchers continue to research, and the reason why people that have won Pulitzer Prizes continue to do what they do, is because it's not about the song or the prize. It's about the process itself that brings so much into your life.
It's about the expansion.
Yes. Yes. And I've noticed that about you. I don't know. I'm about to get really...
Don't get emotional.
Well, I'm about to get emotional because you used to be, and some days still are, but you used to be the most tightly wound, gripped, it's got to be right. I'm scared. Like, it's got to be right. It's got to be right. It's got resisting this process. And you know how you can see in somebody that you're very close to what their gifts are? Like, I can see that Amy can just open up the portal and tap into this higher power in just an extraordinary, magical way. And I could say that about Jessie, who is one of the kindest, most thoughtful, like the biggest heart I've ever seen in a human being. For you, I've known since you were born that you're an artist. And it's painful to watch somebody resist their own expansion. And what I witnessed that day watching you deliver this senior project is I watched you like really own it. And I personally believe that it was the framework that he revealed that's been the framework for your last 4 years, the underpinnings of the program itself and the process that you went through. And it's no surprise to me that days before you're giving this presentation, he's like, well, what you're describing is these 3 pillars that the whole thing is. And then you could put it all together, that framework in so many ways liberates you from gripping because you can always locate yourself in it.
And I also think, thank you for saying all that. And I appreciate you seeing my progress and seeing me. But I also think I can speak from my own personal experience, but the expansion that I've experienced over the past 4 years, I thought and wanted to look a very different way. For example, when I got to USC, I was just a singer. And when I left, I expected to have an EP and 25 original songs and maybe to even have played a bunch of shows and to maybe be going on tour. Who knows? Dreaming big. That's what I wanted my expansion to be. But through this process and through surrendering to this process and trusting in this process, I've experienced expansion in ways I never knew that I would, and in ways that I'm so grateful for and would not trade 25 songs for in a heartbeat. And I think, yes, this process works. Yes, you can use this process, but you've got to trust that even if the rock is your North Star, if it pulls you in a completely different direction, you've just got to trust that if you stay in the process and you stay present and you stay grateful and you stay conscious of it, it's going to lead you to where you need to go. Because I've learned so much about myself and about my artistry and about my humanity through this process that I never even knew was possible. And I still don't have 25 songs, and I'm still not going on tour, and I still haven't played that many shows. And I'm sure those are coming for me, but I would not trade those for the knowledge that I have about me and where I'm at and where I'm going for the frickin' world.
What's the most surprising thing you learned about yourself through this 3-part process?
My hydrating eye patches are dry, which means it's time for them to come off. I would say that my biggest takeaway after being at USC for 4 years and from doing my senior project is understanding that my gift is not just my vocal cords, and it's not just my ability to sing. And yes, that is God-given, that is universe-given, and that is something that I'm so grateful for and have no idea why someone gave it to me. I'm so excited to use it and see where it takes me. But I've realized that my gift and my artistry is so much more complex and so much more dynamic than just these two little things in here. And that's true for every single person on this earth. I mean, my professors say this too, but you work on your artistry your whole life. You work on your career your whole life. You work on your family your whole life. But the art isn't that. The art is you. We are all works of art, and living this life and figuring out how to live and figuring out how to be more like your North Star, just like how to be you, or going through this process is just chiseling away at the sculpture that is just you. And I think USC has really helped me to actually see myself as that work of art, and to see that I'm just hopping on this ride of emulation, assimilation, and innovation, and I'm going to ride this shit till I'm in the ground, babe, and see where it freaking takes
Well, I'm
me.
going to hook my caboose to that train, because the moment that you said we are all works of art, and living this life and figuring out how to live and figuring out how to be more like your North Star, it's just like chiseling away at the sculpture that is you. That is so beautiful, Ken.
You are the artwork. You can
Yes.
create it. You can paint your own life.
Yes. That was so cool. Welcome to an absolutely heroic episode of the Mel Robbins podcast. It is my favorite time of year. I am in such a good mood. What time of year am I talking about? Graduation season. I love graduation season. First of all, do you remember your graduation? You got the robe on, you got the cap on. Maybe you were smart enough to get those braid things that people get that are really smart. Everyone's celebrating you. Your family comes into town. You finally finished your final exams. You're done. And you've got this casserole of human emotions. You got the sadness. You've got the excitement. And your whole month is all about the last time you're going to get together, the last time you're with your class, the last time you're doing this. And then that, of course, leads to a whole new season of firsts. Oh, it's the first time you're going to do this thing and the first time that you're going to do that thing. It's such a cool moment. And beyond your graduation, I don't know about you, but I love graduation ceremonies. Give me a commencement ceremony and I am a happy camper. Why? Well, you can't sit at a commencement ceremony and not feel inspired. First of all, can we talk about the music? Give me some pomp and circumstance, people, and I feel like I'm going places. I suddenly feel as if I have royal blood in my veins, right? It's so regal. I feel like I need to do something important. I mean, even that song and a robe, you could be wearing a tank top and running shorts underneath, and you feel like you've just earned a doctorate. And so the music, it just sets the scene. And my personal favorite part of a graduation ceremony, I bet you can guess it. That's right, the speakers. Whether the speakers are just a recent graduate, or it's the valedictorian, or the student that the fellow students elected to speak, or it's somebody famous and successful. You cannot hear a graduation speech and not think about your own life. I can't ever remember attending a graduation and not wanting to sprint out of there and go change everything about my life. And just last weekend, I heard one of the best graduation speeches I think I've ever heard. And the speaker was Kevin Feige. He is the chairman, the president, the guy that runs Marvel Studios. So for our Avenger fans out there, Black Panther, Iron Man, Kevin Feige, he is so freaking cool. And you want to know something even cooler? His entire commencement address for USC, it was superhero themed. How freaking cool is that? Not some generic, here are 5 takeaways about resilience kind of bullshit. No, this was personal. It was hilarious. It was poignant. And there were lessons that he shared that I feel personally more applicable to my life than even the graduates sitting there. And so I want to share a few of those lessons with you, okay? So first of all, I love this. Failure is never the end of a hero's story. And it shouldn't be the end of your story either. Second thing that he shared with us. In life, always lead with a yes. That's what a hero does. Because the world is always going to say no. Your friends are going to be critical. Your boss is going to have their own agenda. The world says no. You know what a hero says? A hero says yes. A hero says, I can find a way. A hero says, yes, it's worth the risk. In fact, how many times in a superhero movie is there that scene where they're going over and calculating the odds of a mission? And the odds of the mission being successful are 1 in a trillion. What does a hero say? We got to try. I'm going to take those odds. Because a hero leads with yes. And that's what makes you a hero. Forget the superpowers, forget the weapons that you may have. What makes you a hero in your life is your ability to say yes, to pick yourself back up, to go for it, even when the odds are against you. That's what is going to make you a hero. And listening to him just last week, I was reminded of a simple truth. You have to be the hero in your own life. There must be some mission, some purpose, some dream that you have that is greater than the day-to-day things that are going to weigh you down. And you've got to be your own hero when it comes to fighting for that thing that you care about. And there will be times that you want to give up. And those moments when you want to give up, those moments where you think you're about to fail, those moments are what define your life. I'll never forget that line that Kevin Feige said. Failure is never the end of a hero's story. Oftentimes, it's the beginning of one. And that brings me to the episode today. Last year, I met a woman who was about to give up on her dream. See, she had always dreamt of being a touring stand-up comic, and in her wildest dreams, like this is the big one, when she allows herself to be the hero of her own life, she's got a series on Netflix. That is what she's been fighting for. And she had been working hard on this dream for 20 years. And she was about to give up, throw in the towel. I'm done. But what did we learn? That failure is not an option when it comes to your dreams. And luckily for Barbara, she met me right as she was about to give up. And I gave her the coaching session of a lifetime. And what you're about to hear is me picking a woman back up and reminding her that failure is not an option. When you are in the fight of your life to make your dreams come true, you got to do whatever it takes.
So I moved back home 2 years ago.
Where was that?
South Florida, the same place where.
Okay.
And I feel so safe and comfortable for the first time in my whole adult life. And
You
I was
do?
like, yeah. Well, no, not really.
See?
I've been an actor since I'm like 18 years old, and it's been effing hard.
Yeah.
So I started coaching people because I was like, I'm talking about Robbins right now. I love that part too. And I started a podcast. I mean, I started directing and editing documentaries, and I love it.
What's wrong?
I still want to act, and
Yeah.
I'm 46 years old, so I feel like it's okay to be comfortable and small and.
Hold on. It's okay to be comfortable if that's what you want.
Yeah.
It's not okay to be small because that's not what you are. All right, I'm going to say that to you. It's okay to be comfortable. It's not okay to be small. Being too small in life, telling yourself that you should be small, that, it's okay, you know, that's the number one issue. Shrinking yourself. You see, for the last couple years, every single January, I have taught a course about the science of dreaming. And not just dreaming, but dreaming big. And dreaming big as a way to create a whole new chapter in your life, a way to tap into your potential. And more than 200,000 people around the world have taken this Science of Dreaming course with me. And here's the number one thing that I noticed after teaching this course over and over and over again to people around the world. It's that telling yourself that you're small, putting a lid on your own dreams, on your own potential, convincing yourself that meh is okay, that's the biggest problem. If you're somebody who doesn't know what you want, I guarantee you it's because you do things that make you feel small. And then you tell yourself that's okay. And here's the thing that I'm really worried about. I'm worried about the fact that if you continue to do this, if you continue to tell yourself, I don't know what I want, I can never have it, I'm 46, I tried, it's hard, it's not going to work out for me. If you are the one that is against your big dreams in life, that is the reason why you're unhappy. That you are the single biggest, loudest voice for why you can't have what you deserve. That is the source of misery. That is the source of feeling lost. And so we got to stop that right now. Because the fact is, I don't care how long you've worked on your dreams, how long you've avoided your dreams, how long you've been scared of your dreams, how long you've downplayed your dreams, those dreams are still very much alive inside of you. You're not supposed to be small. You're not supposed to be arguing against your dreams. Let other people do that. You're the one who's supposed to have the biggest and the loudest and the brightest voice when it comes to the matter of your dreams. You know, it reminds me of this quote that I just love. Let your light shine so bright that other people can find their way out of darkness. You know, if you're not supposed to be small, what are you supposed to be? You are supposed to be this big, beautiful flame. That flame that is burning so bright inside of you as you're marching toward the things that really call to you. That's your self-expression. That's your happiness. That's your creativity. That is a human being that is alive. And for those of you that look at me and that you're like, oh my God, Mel, like you're just so inspiring. You keep reinventing yourself. Every time I reinvent myself, do you know how I do it? It's because I start to realize I'm feeling small. I start to realize that I'm feeling a little lost, that I'm feeling the energy drain, that I'm not feeling like a flame burning bright, that I'm full of excuses. And I do this exercise that I'm going to share with you right now to get me back in touch with that dream that you can never run away from. Because what are you learning from me? Your dreams are meant for you. And they are either going to be something that you pursue that helps you become brighter and more emboldened and more of yourself, or they're something that's going to haunt you. I can give you example after example after example of this. I'll give you an example in my own life. So in 2007, so we're talking 15 years ago, I got a part-time job on Saturday mornings hosting a local call-in radio show in Boston, Massachusetts. I absolutely loved that radio show. Loved it. And from the moment I hosted the first call-in show, I knew this is exactly what I want to do in life. And the truth is, I even knew it before. And the reason why I knew it before is because I had been a humongous fan of Howard Stern. I mean, I listened to Howard Stern way back in the day when he was like shock jock material before he went through psychotherapy and became really amazing at interviewing people. Like back in the really disgusting days, I was a Howard Stern junkie. And there was something about the energy of listening to Howard and everybody on the show that I just felt drawn to it. I could not stop thinking what an amazing thing it would be to be able to do that with your life. And so here I get years later to be on the mic. I'm hosting this show. I absolutely love this show. That show ends up growing into a weekday show. I end up winning an award. Next thing you know, CNN is calling. And I find myself then in 2011 leaving radio and going onto television as a legal analyst for CNN. But here's the thing. Radio never left me. Every time Howard Stern would pop up on my dial, I would feel the pull. As podcasting started to happen and become a thing in 2011, 2012, and I started seeing more and more podcasts pop up, I started to feel the pull. What is that pull? It feels like jealousy. It feels like longing. It feels like desire. It feels like sometimes it can feel like inferiority, that you get close to your dream and you want it so badly that you literally put up all kinds of reasons to protect yourself from your dreams. So maybe it's the people you're really insecure around. That's my daughter. She has a dream of being a singer-songwriter, of doing stadium tours. Just the other day, I saw that Taylor Swift had just done something that nobody's ever done. She's got all 10 songs on the Billboard 100 top 10. Freaking unbelievable. And I texted it to my daughter. And you know what she texted back? Please don't send this stuff to me, because I'll never be able to do that. You know what that is? That's somebody who is deeply in touch with their dreams, but they're terrified of them. And so we're going to talk about that. But what I want to explain to you is there is something inside of you and you know it. There is something meant for you. And you are either so afraid of it that you push it away, or you long for it like I did. Since 2011, if you watch my TEDx talk, which now has 29 million views, you will notice that in that TEDx talk, I talk about my goal. Back in 2011 on that stage, I said, my goal is to be the #1 radio host in the world. So here we are, 11 years later, and we're launching the podcast. And it's taken me 11 years to get closer than ever to the thing. For these past 11 years, have I stopped thinking about the dream? Nope. Have I noticed other people that are pursuing my dream? Yep. Have I felt jealous? Have I felt insecure? Yes, I have. All of those, just like you do. That is evidence that your dream is alive. I want to ask you a question on behalf of anyone that's listening that is up to their eyeballs in debt and is having trouble dreaming and is trying to make ends meet, or maybe it's not even the debt. It's that with 2 kids in college and bills to pay and a mortgage, they're just in those crunch years of just grinding it out.
Yeah.
What is the concept of a rich life? And can you walk us through, regardless of where we are financially, how we start to define it for ourselves? Because we've covered the money dials, but I want to just get a flat definition from you of what a rich life is and what are the steps you walk somebody through, regardless of where they are, to creating one.
A rich life is when you look at your life and you go, wow, this feels amazing. Now, you can have a rich life and still be in debt. That's okay. You can have a rich life and not be exactly where you want to be ultimately. But a rich life can be traveling 2 months a year. It can be buying a beautiful cashmere coat. A rich life can be picking up your kids from school every afternoon. The key is that your rich life is yours. It's not mine. It's not your friends, not your parents. It's yours. And in fact, the more you carefully define your rich life and really turn those dials up and down, the more bewildering your rich life will be to other people. I'll give you an example from my own life. My rich life is really weird to other people, and that's exactly what it should be. I love spending extravagantly on travel. I'm a hotel guy. I have a list of hotels in all parts of the world. I know the exact room I want to stay in. Like, I love it. I'm obsessed. That's my thing. I also love clothes. I love them. I spend a lot on it. And so those things are things I spend extravagantly on. On the other hand, my car is not that important to me. And to give you a point of comparison, I've spent more in 1 year on travel than I spent in 20 years on all of my car expenses added together.
Wow.
So that's crazy. That's bewildering. It makes no sense to somebody listening. And that's exactly how it should be. If you love camping, maybe you turn that dial up. You find a way to have smaller costs for your rent or mortgage. And instead, you're going camping, I don't know, X weeks per year. You've got some place you go that nobody else knows about, some equipment that's amazing. You take friends with you. Amazing. Not my thing. I've got a reader of mine who told me he retired in his 30s with his wife. They travel around the country in an RV. I go, that sounds like hell.
Yeah, me
to
too.
me.
No way.
But
To
I
them?
love that it's their rich life.
Yes. So are there particular questions other than the money dial that you would want us to ask ourselves or answer in order to start to really define it? Because I agree with you. Most people, when you ask them for real, what do you want? It's like,
It's hard. It's a really big question.
Yes.
So what we can do is we can zoom in and out.
Okay.
To help people create some context around it.
Okay.
So, I have this journal, which you can do solo or with your partner. And I'm going to give you a few exercises that are really helpful. Let's start big picture, and then we'll zoom really tight down to day to day.
okay.
So this is a fun exercise. I did this one with my wife. We sat down and we said, let's create a 10-year bucket list. So in the next 10 years, what do we want to do that would make this an amazing and rich 10 years?
Whoa.
Okay. So we took two separate pieces of paper. We spent a few minutes. We wrote it down. And then we came back and compared it. And this is a really cool opportunity to recalibrate the way you talk about money, because it's dreamy. It's fun. You don't have to commit to anything. So you want to get curious. One of us is like, oh, I want to learn Spanish. And the other one goes, oh, cool. You want to do that online? Or like, would you want to go to Mexico City and do an immersion? The other one, for one of my things was I want to write a book at a hotel. Makes perfect sense. I don't necessarily love writing, but if I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write it in an amazing luxury hotel that I love.
Which one?
Okay, cool. Oh, so there was one in Kyoto that I love. And in fact, recently went there on a writing project. I achieved one of my 10-year things. Yeah. And the funniest part, my wife was going to Japan anyway with some friends. She goes, hey, why don't you go and work on your writing project? I know you love that hotel and you've got the time. Why don't you? And I was like, oh yeah, it didn't even occur to me. So sometimes you need somebody to remind you about your rich
Now,
life.
if you're single or you're newly divorced or you've just graduated from college, do you recommend that you grab a friend or a sibling or somebody, or is this something best
No, you
done?
can do it solo.
You can do it solo. Okay.
Yeah, you could totally do it solo. So you come up with a list of things, and it's things that are exciting, that you would look back on and be like, wow, that was a really cool 10 years. I remember that's memorable. Okay. Then, so the two of you have, if you're in a partnership, you've asked each other, if you're solo, you're looking at them, and you're picking one that really jumps out at you. Don't overthink it. It's the one that you go, I want to do that above all others.
In the next 10 years,
Yep.
I got to go to Australia for a month. In the next 10
Perfect.
years, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's mine, but I'm just saying, like, what
Yeah.
are some of the things you've seen from the millions of people that you've helped?
We want to take a family trip to Italy. Super common. Everybody wants to go to Italy. And I love hearing it because I then get to help them dimensionalize it. Like Italy alone is just a word. I want to know, what seat on the airplane are you flying? What season are you going? What are you wearing? Where are you eating? I want to know every detail to the point where we can almost smell it, because then it becomes vivid and aspirational. Okay. So that's what we're doing in this first process. It's actually really fun. Oh my God, we get to go on a pizza tour, whatever. Then you pick that one, and solo or together, you go, all right, let's actually make it happen. When do I want to do this? In our case, we decided we want to have an amazing 10-year wedding anniversary. We were inspired by some friends of ours who did it, and we were like, what? People actually do that? And then we're like, well, who cares if people do it? We want to do it. And so we said, that's it. We happen to know the exact date we want to do it and the location. If you want to go to Italy or wherever, you got to pick a specific month and year. It's got to now start getting specific. And then you got 2 more steps, and then you're good to go.
Hold on. Let me just clarify something.
Yeah.
What Ramit is teaching you to do is to dream again and to attach very positive and aligned emotion with what a rich life would feel like. And I think so many of you are going to have trouble even getting past this part and giving yourself permission to do it because of the amount of mistakes that you made. And, I'll just say, Ramit, when Chris's restaurant business was really struggling and we had liens on the house and couldn't pay for groceries at times, and I had lost my job, dreaming seemed impossible, but it was actually a lifeline because it made me feel like this was gonna be temporary, that we would figure out a way through this. And so I just want to underscore that that if you're like got crushing student debt right now, if you've gone through a divorce and you're in financial ruin, this is actually exactly what you need to do. Because if you continue to stare at the debt, you're going to feel disempowered, which means your actions will be disempowered. If we can give you a beacon out on the distance to raise your gaze and get you feeling inspired again, something to work toward, that we know based on the research, that's your big why when it comes to a goal. And so I love what you're doing here because it's the exact opposite of what a financial advisor would tell you, which is you'd sit down, you'd go through the numbers, you'd feel like an imbecile. You'd basically get somebody politely telling you you're fucked and you shouldn't buy coffee out and you shouldn't enjoy yourself until you get your debt under control and you pay this off. And that can come. But let's first get the conversation fun and exciting again, because when you're in that kind of mood, you're going to be more motivated to do the tedious bullshit that any financial advisor can tell you, correct?
Correct, 100%. And thank you for slowing us down and really providing the context behind why we are doing it this way. I don't want us to shrink our world to a spreadsheet. That's not going to help you. That's not going to help anybody. Instead, what I want to do is expand our vision, even if it feels impossible to dream, and to say, look, just in this moment on this piece of paper, let's dream for a second. And it's having a conversation with yourself or your partner and saying, we may not be able to even see how we can get there today, but we've got time. And if we put the intention behind it and we marshal our resources, I think we can do this.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Okay.
Absolutely beautiful.
So you've got one powerful vision of what you want to accomplish in the next 10 years. I say powerful because it's not like eating at a restaurant. That's not powerful enough. I had a guy once tell me his rich life is coffee. And I just sat there and then I said, that's boring. I just told him point blank and he was shocked. Oh, somebody's telling me my rich life is boring. I was like, yeah, that's boring. You can't just say coffee. Like this guy had a lot of money. I go, okay, if you love coffee, then tell me you want to go to Guatemala and take a behind the scenes tour of a farm. Tell me you want to go to the national barista competition and bring somebody. Tell me something beyond I want to order an extra Dunkin' Donuts coffee shipped to my house. No, that's not acceptable. So sometimes I have to challenge people to think bigger. You got something big. It could be skydiving. It could be a trip, whatever. All right. You know the date.
Okay.
Specifically the
so
month.
So in the
year.
next 10 years, you got to pick a date, the month and the year.
Yep. You got to be specific. Then this is the hardest part, but it should take no more than 5 minutes.
Okay.
Approximate the cost. So if you're going to Italy, people, they start to freak out because
I just freaked out.
Yeah. It's like we revert back to 7th grade math and we're like, oh, got to do the quadratic equation and get it perfect. I go, listen, you don't need any decimal points. Okay. In fact, you could approximate on the back of a napkin. How much is a flight going to cost approximately? Add 15% because you forgot about tax and all that stuff. What's a hotel going to cost? I don't know. Google hotel, Italy, Rome, whatever. Okay, let's double the price because maybe we want to stay at a nice hotel. All right, fine. That's the level that we're talking about here.
Okay.
And if you have two different, like my wife and I had two completely different numbers. Mine was way bigger. And my rule is if you got two numbers, go with the bigger one.
Got it. Okay.
Go with the bigger one. And so now you've got a beautiful vision. You've got a month and year. You've got the approximate amount it's going to cost. The last step is to make it a reality. How do you do that? let's say that it's 10 years away. It's going to cost $10,000. I'm just making it up. That means you need to be saving $1,000 a year, or roughly, $100 a month.
Okay.
Roughly. Okay, we could do that. Suddenly you start to understand a little concept of like time and money, and you set up an automatic savings from your checking account to your savings account for $100 a month, and you call it Dream Trip 2030. Boom. Every month that you are talking about money in what I call a Rich Life Review, it's like a video game. You see, we're getting 3% closer, and that is a joy.
I love this. And I know that is that what you call a conscious spending plan?
Conscious spending plan's a little different, but it would incorporate that, yes.
Okay. So, Amy, you and I have reinvented ourselves.
Yes.
And in the past 14 years, we have both gone from working for somebody else to figuring out how to launch our own business. And I'm going to get to your story in a minute, but I want to put something into context for everybody. Guys, I first started making money online 5 years ago.
5 years ago. That was like yesterday.
And I was 49 years old, Amy.
Okay, I love to hear this.
If this old dog can figure out how this internet thing works and how to like march toward my curiosity about it and how to learn this stuff.
Yes.
I mean, there are people, everybody out there who are way stupider than you, making way more money than you because they stopped and they paid attention to what we're about to tell you today. You can do this. And Amy is living proof. She has taught 50,000 students, more than 50,000 students, how to take you even start with people who are like, I have no idea what I want to do.
Absolutely no idea. Yes.
That's
and
crazy
they
to me.
figure it out and create incredible businesses. They blow their own minds.
Without any business experience.
Absolutely.
And why did you want to help people do this? And what do you want the person listening right now as they're driving to a job that they hate, or they're taking a walk in a neighborhood that they wish they didn't live in, or they are unemployed, they've been laid off, they're beating themselves up. What do you want to tell them they are going to get out of this conversation today?
I want them to know that there's an entirely new world waiting for them. They don't even know what's possible yet for their future. And it's not inside a cubicle or commuting to a 9-to-5 job. There's a whole other world out there that you can take as your own. And the reason I know that is because that is my own story 14 years ago. So because it was a new world to me and I ran with it, now I help other people do the same.
Okay, so you've got a world-class expert here that has held the hands of 50,000 people, and these 50,000 plus students that she has taught everybody. They are no more smarter than you. They are no more qualified than you. They simply were in the position that you're in right now, where they bumped into this conversation and it had them experience a whole different possibility for their life.
Yes.
And that's my mission. My mission is to wake your ass up. My mission is to have you flush that stupid shit you're telling yourself that you're too young. Oh, I'm just great. I don't have anything to offer anybody. How can I make money online? Bullshit. You're actually tech native. Of course you could do this if you change your mindset. Oh, but Mel, I'm not 49. I'm 60. How am I going to do this? You're going to do this by stopping that bullshit that's spewing out of your mouth and getting serious about listening to two women. She has made $85 million in the past 14 years teaching people how to do this. And you want to know why I'm saying that number? Because I'm damn proud of her. And I also think if you put your head down and you listen to what some expert like Amy is about to tell you, and you pick up her book and you read the blueprint, you can figure this out too. This is about teaching yourself something new. It's about telling yourself something different. And that's what we're going to do. And I want to tell you a quick story about how perspective changing things can be. And then we're going to hear your story, Amy. So I remember when I was in law school, right?
Yeah.
I grew up in a teeny tiny town in Michigan. And then I go to college in a teeny tiny town in New Hampshire.
Okay.
And I was sort of like your meat and potatoes kind of gal. I was not the biggest experimental eater like I am now. And I remember one of my really good friends, shout out to Sydney, she was a super cool lady, and she grew up in Providence, Rhode Island, and she was multicultural family, like super cool. And I remember she invited me to leave the campus, the law school campus, and go into Boston
Okay.
to this restaurant called Jay's. and her boyfriend, who was older, was going to take the two, law school students with no money out. And it was a Thai restaurant. And I had never been in a Thai restaurant before. And so we sit down. I had no idea what to order. And so they just order the pad Thai. When this thing arrived in front of my, plate there, when this
What'd
plate
you
was,
think when you saw that pad Thai that you'd never seen before?
I was like, what the hell is the eggs and chicken and shrimp and these noodles? And it's like pasty, tacky, weird texture and peanuts and bean sprouts. So I just shoveled a fork in and I just took a bite. It was like a unicorn in my mouth. It was the most delicious thing I had ever. And I had this thought, there is an entire world I have been missing out on because I just didn't know. I just didn't know.
Yes.
And that is what this conversation's about. It's like a pad Thai for your career. There is a whole world that you have not considered as seriously as I want you to because you just didn't know. Like I didn't know you could make money online. Amy's the kind of person that knows how to tap into that confidence that is inside you to make a pivot. And I know that reinvention is a hot topic. Our project on Audible, Reinvent Your Life with Mel Robbins, is #1 on Audible. Everybody is feeling this need to change something about their lives. And when you take your career and your ability to make money into an entirely different level, it's extraordinary how that impacts your life. And Amy has been able to not only teach herself how to do that, but to teach so many other people how to do that, how to find financial freedom, how to get control of your time, how to create a life where you get to work when and where and with whomever you want to work. And do not tune this out. This is possible for you. I don't care what your life looks like right now. This is possible for you. And that's why I wanted Amy to sit here and give you a zero-cost masterclass in thinking differently and taking control of your freaking life starting today. So Amy, what was your pad Thai moment in your career?
My pad Thai moment was 14 years ago. I was working for peak performance coach Tony Robbins, and I had an amazing job. I was the director of content, traveling the world, working on the content that he did on stage. However, I didn't realize in that moment that I had never been free. And here's what happened. Tony brought in a bunch of business owners to the San Diego office. They happened to be all men, and they were making money online. And so he brought them into this office. It was this big oak table, and I was called in to take notes. So
okay. So first of all, were you annoyed by that?
Well, it was kind of common for the content department to take notes. But yeah, there's a little bit of me like, I want to be in the action. I want to be doing the things. But yeah, I was on a side table.
Oh, so you were not even at the big table with the boys.
No.
You were on the side
I was on the side.
taking the notes.
Yes.
Okay.
So here I came into this meeting, but thank God I did, because here's what happened. I started to take notes, and these guys started to talk about their businesses, what they do, what life looks like, what their lifestyle is, what their family life looks like. Like, they were really talking about their whole experience as business owners. And all of a sudden I realized, wait a second. They're working when they want, where they want, how they want. They're creating these amazing products. They're being as creative as they want to be. They're on their own time and on their own dime. And I realized I have never been free. I have never been my own boss. I will always hit a glass ceiling. I will always have to ask for a raise, always have to ask if I could take vacation. I was not the boss of my own life or my business. And in that moment, a light bulb went off, and I thought, I want it. I have no idea what they're doing. I don't know how to do any of it, but I want it. And so that was the moment for me. But the next thing that happened was this flood of doubt. And I looked to my friend who was in the meeting with me, and I said, I have no skill where I could be my own boss. I know nothing that I could be my own boss.
I want to stop right there, because I think this moment where you're sitting in a meeting and you experience something.
Yeah.
This like wake up call happens in your body. And I've had a moment like that. It's way bigger than a pad Thai moment.
Yeah.
I was sitting in an audience, and I was at an Oprah Winfrey, like kind of one of these live your best life tours. This would have been a decade ago,
Okay.
decades ago, actually, probably 2 decades ago at this point. And I was there because I was networking to try to get clients for my life coaching business. I had just started this on the side. I was working full time, doing business development for a advertising agency in the big tech kind of bubble that happened in the early 2000 timeframe. And on the side, I was trying to build a business as a life coach, full of doubt. So I go to this Oprah Winfrey concert. It was actually it was like a event that she held, a one-day summit to like live your best life. And so I'm sitting in the big audience and Oprah's on stage, and then she introduces this woman that I'd never heard of. Her name was Martha Beck. And Martha Beck walks out. And I don't even remember what the hell she said. I had never heard of her. I had no clue what she did. But she started talking, and there was something inside of me that was like, I want that. And it was the same thing you're talking about, which is this taste I've never thought about the word free. Because there I was I'd lied to my employer. I had taken the day, and I had told them I was somewhere else, and I had gone to this thing for myself.
Yeah.
And so here I am, completely out of integrity, getting paid by somebody else to sit in a place where I'm prospecting for my side hustle that hasn't even launched yet. And I realized when she walks on the stage, holy shit, that's what I want. And I didn't even know what that meant. I just knew that I wanted the freedom that she seemed to have. She was writing books. She was clearly writing for Oprah. She had written her first book. She was now talking about that first book on a stage. I didn't know what I would write about. I didn't know what I would speak about. I was scared to think about being on that stage. That is the moment. And so I want to hit pause, and I want to talk to the person, you, right now listening to us. I want to talk to you because I need you to start to pay attention to those moments. You don't have to have the answers to change your life. You have to have that moment where you go, I want something more for myself. And what I wanted to be able to go to an event without lying to my boss. Well, I could have just not lied, but you know what I mean. I wanted to be able to go to an event because I was going to go to an event. I wanted to be able to work when I wanted to work, but I did not know how the hell do you go from that moment to knowing what the hell the right next step is? Because you're right. What happens next is, well, you're dumb. You got nothing to offer. You're this, you're that. Like, how did you go from, okay, there's all these dudes sitting around the table. I'm basically the secretary, no offense to secretaries, in the corner. And right. I am sitting here being exposed to something that I'm not part of this club.
Yes. So the first thing, all those doubts came rushing in. And then I learned something a long time ago that if you're watching someone do something and you feel a little bit jealous, like, look what they have, or angst around it, which I had. Like, I wanted what they had, even though I didn't totally get it. Whenever you have a feeling of jealousy or angst, or you want it, ask yourself, what do they have that you want? Like, get really clear. What is it about their life that you think is so attractive, or you'd like to go through it? Because I had to get clear about what I wanted. And in that moment, I thought, they get to be their own boss. Like, that's what they have that I have never had. So I think clarity in terms of what you want is the first big step. You talk about that a lot. What do you want? And so once I got clear on, I don't want a job anymore, I want to call the shots, then I had to start thinking, what would I do? Because I had no clue. So for the next few months, I kind of went through this process that now I teach called the sweet spot, which is figuring out what might you want to do.
Wow. Okay. I am so excited to go through this with you. I cannot wait to send this to approximately 100 people because I feel like I have those kind of epiphanies probably once a week.
Yes.
Even if you look at me or you look at Amy and you're like, they got it all figured out. I still have these wake up calls all the time. Like, we just had one yesterday where we were talking about, wouldn't it be nice to be able to support other female entrepreneurs with investment money? Like, maybe we should step into like starting an investment fund. And we both looked at each other and we're like, well, I don't know how to do that. I don't either, but we kind of feel interested. So that's sort of the moment we're talking about. And I want to give the audience a real range, okay, of scenarios where you could have this wake up call, because I feel like For those of you that are in your 20s and 30s that listen to this podcast, you're probably part of the demographic that looks at everybody that is an influencer or a YouTuber, or they are travel bloggers, or they are now starting their line of supplements, or they are doing exercise videos, and you're now streaming exercise videos from somebody who's largely your age. And you have this thing where you're like, wow, I'd really like to do that. What Amy and I are here to tell you is that is the power moment. That is the eye-opening moment. That's it. That awakening is the only thing you need in order to pivot your life in a new direction. Because we are lucky enough, and Amy's going to talk about this, to live in a world where if you want to create an online exercise studio, if you want to take your catering business or your grandmother's tomato sauce that everybody compliments and start selling it, you can figure out how to do it, but you have to honor the wake-up call.
Yes.
You have to honor this thing inside you, because Amy's right. How many times have you seen somebody you're jealous of, or you've had this moment of inspiration and you've been like, nope, not going to happen for me. And so I want you to know that that's takeaway number one. That takeaway number one is that wake-up call is going to change your life if you're willing to look for it and if you're willing to hit the pause button when it happens. Now, for those of you that are like, yeah, okay, so I don't want what my life currently looks like. That's enough.
Yes.
So talk to me about this thing that you walk people through.
Yes. So it's called the sweet spot formula.
Okay.
And I developed it because it's essentially what I did to leave my last 9-to-5 job and start this business. And it has 4 quadrants. We'll walk them through the 4 quadrants, okay? This first quadrant of the sweet spot is, what are you good at? What do people always say? Like, how do you do that? That comes so easy to you, because what comes easy to you does not come easy to everybody else. Where have you gotten results? Where have you gotten results in your personal life or your business life? So maybe you're an accountant and you do really good in your job. So you have all these skills that could absolutely translate into your own business. But maybe you don't want to be an accountant, but at home, you're really good at getting your picky eater, your toddler, to eat everything. And other moms are like, how do you get your kids to eat all these vegetables? What are you doing? And you have all of these little secret things you do. That could be a business. So start looking around. But here's the beauty. You only need a 10% edge. When people start to think about, what might I do in a business? Oh, I need more education. I need certification. I need more time. You don't need any of that. You already have a business in you. 10% edge. You need to be 10% ahead of those that you want to help and serve.
So funny. I just talked to my husband about this.
Yeah.
So Chris is, the founder of this men's retreat, Soul Degree, and he's starting this online huddle, a 9-month-long program. And he's like, I don't think I'm ready. I don't have it all figured out. I said, dude, you need to be one training ahead of everybody else. That's all that you need to be. And I think that that's kind of one of those things that gets us in the way. We're asking the big questions today of you. What do you want your life to look like? How nice would it be if you had freedom? You were free to work when you wanted, where you wanted, that you took the time to design your life to work for you. And for those of you that have never thought about this before, you always thought, okay, I just got to get a job. I got to get a job. We're unpacking a concept called unbossing yourself, because I personally believe this is all mindset. It's all mindset. And you've got 2 strategies to emboss yourself. But before we get to those, I want to go back to the story, because you had this wake-up call. You're like, whatever these dudes are doing to make money online, I'm figuring this out.
Yeah.
Because I am not free if I work for somebody else. And I really see and have a taste of what they have. And now I want to figure it out. And so takeaway number 1, everybody, pay attention to the wake-up call. Takeaway number 2, yes, you can sort this stuff out. And takeaway number 3 is, what did you do next?
So that's when I started to think, what could I possibly do? How do I need to unboss myself? How do I need to think in order to step into what I want?
Got it.
So I really did start with my mindset. So this concept of unbossing, really understanding that you could lead yourself and you do not need anybody else to tell you what to do, make the decisions for you, or lead you. So once you start to think, okay, how can I lead myself? I had to take some steps to get me there. The first thing was, again, I talked about what do I want? And I went on social media and started following a bunch of people that had the kind of businesses that I wanted. Total immersion. I wanted, and you did an episode a while ago that you talked about when you, let's say, got a new car and you started to see that car everywhere.
Yes.
It's the same concept. When I decided I wanted to start my own business, I started to see bosses everywhere doing what I wanted, but I was intentional about it and I cleaned up my social media.
Okay, so takeaway number 1.
Yeah.
You have this wake-up call. What do you want your life to look like? Get serious about curating your social media right now so that you are immersed in the world that you want to step into. That is step 1. That is what a leader does. That's what you're going to do. We all have boards of advisors. We all call experts. Like I call Amy on speed dial when I need help with marketing. You're going to do social media and you're going to use social media in a very intentional way to start to create that community and that mindset around you. What's the second thing you can do to change your mindset and unboss yourself?
Start asking for advice.
Okay.
Find the people who are doing what you want and find out how they did it. And I actually have a great story about this. Okay. So when I was still at Tony Robbins, I knew I wanted to create courses and help people do their marketing and build businesses down the road. I wasn't ready for it yet, but I knew I wanted that kind of business. So I went online and I found a bunch of people doing what I wanted. And there was this one woman who absolutely had the kind of business I wanted. I did not know her at all, but I watched her online and I thought, that's the kind of business I want. So I went to her contact page on her website, wrote her a little email and said, listen, I know you don't offer this, but can I pay you for an hour of your time? I just want to ask you all about how you built your business. I'm new to all of this. I don't even know where to start. Will you share some insight with me if I pay you? And she said, yes.
Wow.
Yep. So you got to ask.
You got to ask. And here's another way you can do it because you're probably sitting there. Notice you have a employee mindset.
Yes.
We're like, but I don't have any money to pay. Amy's got money because she works for Tony Robbins.
No. That is not the mindset. You are not a loser. You're a winner. All of these people that you follow have likely done a podcast interview or a YouTube video, or they've written a blog post.
Yes.
And all the advice is in there. And another way that you can get people to respond to you is you can present them with some challenge that you're facing and say, could you give me, like, I need some help making a decision. I'm facing this challenge. Here are 2 or 3 things that I'm thinking about doing. Which would you advise? Because then you've done the work. You've thought like a boss. You haven't come to somebody to solve your problems. So that's another way that even if you're working for somebody else, unbossing yourself is a mentality. Don't expect your boss to solve your problems. It's not their job to solve your problems. It's your job to come up with the solutions to recommend for the problems that you're facing in whatever your role is. And so that's a way that you can take this philosophy into your current job while you figure out what you want to do.
Yes.
So you stuck with this job and you chipped away at the job while you changed social media.
Yes.
And you started asking people for advice. You started chipping away at learning things. What else did you do in order to kind of step by step march toward building something you had no freaking skill or experience to do?
Yes, I had to get unreasonable. And by the word unreasonable, I mean, I had to start thinking in ways that I had never done before. And so, like with the call with that woman that said yes, like I was still at my office. I had to crawl under my desk because the walls were thin. I didn't want anyone to hear me at my lunch hour. I'm whispering to her on the phone, like, how did you build your business? What did you do? And she's whispering back to me. And I'm sure she thinks that's weird that we're whispering, but I needed to make it happen. So I had to start putting myself in places that I was way out of my element because I wanted something bigger than my life at the moment.
Now, how do you keep that present? Because I think this is what separates people in life.
Yes.
We all want it. Who doesn't want to make $1 million? Who doesn't want freedom? Who doesn't want, to figure out how to make money online and check their balances while they're sitting on the toilet? I mean, who doesn't want to make money while they're sleeping? But what separates those of us who do and anybody who doesn't is literally the action. That's
Exactly.
it. That is it. Like if you're willing to go one step further than the person that just quit, You, my friend, have the secret formula. There is no fucking secret formula.
Yes.
You have to stop listening to the bullshit that is stopping you from taking action. I mean, this woman is sitting under her desk. I'm literally at an event I'm not supposed to be at because we wanted something more for ourselves. What did you do to keep that freedom, which is this big ass word? What did you do to keep that front and center other than having your social media feeds reminding you that this is the world you wanted to step into? It's sort of like a kid who decides, okay, I'm going to go to I'm going to go to this college. And they're really into, the first one that popped into mind is Michigan. I'm from Michigan. Everybody loves either Michigan State or Big Blue. And so kids would wear the sweatshirts and they'd look at the school and they'd follow people and they'd buy the swag and they'd been wearing it all over. And so they're like immersing themselves in this world before they're there. How the hell do you do this for yourself?
Yes.
When it's about a side hustle or who you want to become, because you're talking like recreate your whole damn life. Like stop getting a job and get serious about what you want your life to look like.
So I started to change my identity. I'm going to be a business owner. I'm going to be a boss. What do bosses do? They listen to podcasts about building businesses. They buy the books about how to change your mindset, how to start a business, how to get things going. They buy the digital courses. I'd never bought a digital course in my life. I bought my first digital course while I was still at my 9-to-5 job. It was all about how to do video marketing. I had no idea how to make a video.
Can I give everybody a pro tip?
Yes.
A lot of companies, as a perk, give a login to Masterclass and some of
There
these
you
other
go.
places. And so
Yes.
you can be...
Use it.
Yeah, there is so much free education. You're hearing Amy go buy. Khan Academy, YouTube, all this stuff is free, everybody.
That's so
you
true.
got to be willing to look for it. If you've gotten laid off, the Harvard Extension School has free resume templates if you're willing to freaking Google it. So, we have to get out of this mode of stuff's being done to you and, damn that job and I'm embarrassed. Bullshit. That job was not a fit. And you want why? You want to know why it wasn't a fit? Because you got fired. Because you got laid off. And yes, it sucks. But you get to decide now what it means. Are you going to pivot? And are you going to take this as a wake-up call? Or are you going to sit there and feel sorry for yourself?
It's so true. So yes, get resourceful. You don't have to pay for any of this. There's tons of free resources out there, even more so now than there were when I even left. But I started to, again, total immersion, fuel my mind with the right things. But here's another thing I did. I started a side hustle. And I think this is an important conversation for people right now. If you're afraid of getting fired, laid off, or you're just not making enough money, a lot of people listening, they think they're staying in their 9-to-5 job, but they know they're not getting paid enough. They know they're undervalued. So the best next thing you can do is start your own thing in the mornings, nights, weekends to bring in a little extra money. Let me tell you about a student of mine.
Give me
some
examples.
So one of my students, her name was Rachel. She was a pharmacist, and she did this job as a pharmacist because her parents wanted her to have that job. It looked good. It sounded good. And here she is as a pharmacist during COVID and hates every minute of it. Like her life was miserable, what she went through. And so on the side, she decided, I'm going to learn how to buy real estate. She didn't have a lot of money, but she said, I'm going to learn how to just buy a little bit of real estate and turn it into an Airbnb and see if I can make a little extra money doing that. So she researched, she started saving, she bought her first piece of real estate, and it did really well. And she told her husband, one day I want this to be my full-time thing. And he laughed at her like, no, you're a pharmacist. You're not going to do that. But she kept at it and she kept at it. She made $300,000 last year when she figured out how to get this real estate and get the money to invest and all of that, quit her pharmacy job and never has looked back.
So is this somebody with a trust fund?
No, not at all. Like this woman was scrappy. Let me tell you another story of someone who didn't have a lot of money. Okay. Because I know some people.
Because most people don't have a lot of money. Like most people are paycheck to paycheck. Most people are like, that sounds great, but I got no money for a course. I'm definitely going to pick up the book 2 weeks notice that you just wrote, Amy, for the step-by-step guide, but I don't have buy real estate. What are you talking about?
Okay. Let me give you a better one. So this one is from my student, Tara, and she was an accountant for 15 years in a very small town. And she's a single mom. And she said, I need a raise. I'm not making enough money. She went to the company and said, I'd like a raise. And they looked at her with blank stares. Like, That's not even in your future at all. And she realized, I've got to do something. So she was really good at making wreaths. She made these beautiful wreaths.
Wreaths?
Yes.
Like you mean those round things that we
Yes.
hang on our doors?
Yeah, she
Okay,
made
so she's really good at
beautiful
wreaths.
wreaths.
So I want to go back to something. Remember how Amy said you got to go through the sweet spot exercise. By the way, tons of resources linked all in the show notes on every single platform.
Yes.
But I want you to hear this. This is a person who has been told by people forever that she does a good job making wreaths.
Yes.
I know what you're thinking, everybody. You're thinking, Mel, I have a mortgage to pay. Mel, I have student debt. Mel, I am not starting a fucking business making wreaths because I will not be able to pay my bills doing this. Here's what I want to tell you. You have no clue what you're capable of. But what you're capable of right now is shooting down every single idea. You're putting all your energy into coming up with reasons for why not, why it's stupid, why you can't. What if you put half the amount of energy into why the fuck not?
Yeah.
Why not make wreaths? Why not see where this goes? Why not, instead of flopping down in front of Netflix tonight because my soul is sucked dry from my job search or my job that I go to or worrying about why not invest that same time that I procrastinate at night into creating a little bit of a side hustle, tasting a little bit of freedom,
Yes.
saying yes in a little way. Why not?
Just a starter idea.
That's
You
all
need
she
to
had.
start her.
That's
just
all
said-
she had.
Yes. So she wasn't saying, I'm going to quit my job tomorrow because I'm making wreaths. She just thought, I got to bring in some extra money. I better get scrappy.
Yes.
So she started making these wreaths, selling them on Etsy, and she was doing really well, bringing in like $1,000 a month extra.
That's
So-
pretty good.
Right?
That's
So-
like take the kids to Disney money.
Exactly.
That's pay the bills
So
money.
she's like feeling a little bit. That's another thing. You start to feel a little confident when you start to take some action and get some clarity, like this is actually working. So what happened was her friends started seeing her make money on Etsy, and they were making crafts and they weren't making any money on Etsy. And they said, teach us how you're doing that. That's what I want to know. And that's where it started to click for her. Her starter idea was not going to pay the bills. However, she took action, got some clarity, started to listen to what people were saying, and they said, teach us how you're doing that. So she created a little mini course teaching other people how to put their crafts online and make money with Etsy. $100,000 later, this woman never in a
What?
million years thought she'd make $100,000 teaching other women how to put their crafts on Etsy.
So
and
how
make
long
money.
of a period of time from the idea of, I could, because first it becomes, I want everybody to pay attention because I'm trying to open your eyes to the fact that your whole life can change because of one wake-up moment and the willingness to lean into something that you naturally do well or you're naturally interested in. I'm going to put an example into this in just a minute. But this willingness to lean into what you're naturally good at and other people compliment you on. I've never thought about it this way. Not so that it pays your mortgage, but so that it gives you a taste of freedom. And it taps into this power and resourcefulness and moxie that is inside you.
Yes.
Because when you start feeling that, you'll start thinking even bigger. And so, I'm thinking about this because, and I'm going to offer up an example, because it literally could be anything. I think about my daughter, Sawyer, who constantly is complimented for her interior decorating style
Yes.
and skills. No training. And I keep thinking to myself, boy, she could do a whole Instagram strategy of designing on a budget. She could do a whole thing about how you design a killer dorm room for X number of dollars or how you design your first apartment. I'm thinking about another kid. I have a neighbor whose son, senior year of high school, no joke, made almost $30,000. You want to know how?
How?
I'll tell you how. He saw one video. He Googled how to make money online. One video of this business where you advertise a service of picking up people's stuff, like couches they don't want, and then you list it for sale on Facebook Marketplace and you deliver it to somebody else.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
And scrappy. I like scrappy ideas.
And so I'm not suggesting you'll make millions. Maybe you will, because maybe you'll turn it into a junk removal business. Maybe you'll turn it into something else, but you are limiting what's possible because you won't even lean into something like the wreath idea or the idea of starting an Instagram account that is about decorating on a budget, because you tell yourself it's not possible. I can't do it. Somebody else has already done it. Do you have another example of somebody who just like was either really old or really young that did this?
Yes, I have a great story. One of my favorite students, her name is Anne. And Anne worked in corporate at Gap and Old Navy. She was in her 50s at the time and she got laid off, which tends to be a theme we're hearing a lot. So she's laid off and she thinks, okay, well, I've been in this business for a while. I'm going to dust off my resume, get it back out there. So she did. Months and months and months, couldn't even get an interview. Oh. And I hate to say this, but I think it was her age.
Probably.
Right? People are hiring younger, so they're just looking over her and all of her experience that she had. And so one day her husband said, you've got all of these different crafts up in our attic. You love to do these. Why don't you just play around there for a while, see if it sparks anything? And so she didn't have any other option at the time. So she started to kind of get in there. And she does this one thing really well: surface pattern design.
What the hell is that?
Right. I'm not crafty at all. So I really had to kind of dig in to understand it. Basically, it's this idea of drawing your own doodles and different graphics on, let's say, through a software, and turning those drawings of yours into wallpaper, into wrapping paper,
What?
into mugs,
This is a
into
business?
journals. Yes.
Okay.
And so she did this really well. And yet again, people started to say, how are you doing that? That's why when you think of the sweet spot formula, the first thing you do is pay attention to what people think you're good at, because it's just a natural thing. They're interested. And so she did it well. Other people wanted to know how she did it. So she started to teach them how she did it. Now, this woman went from literally not getting anyone that wanted to hire her, not even getting interviews,
Wow,
to doing launches of this new program she created, $100,000 launches over and over again. But I want to point out, she's in her 60s.
Wait, okay.
Yes.
You buried the lead,
Yes.
Amy.
She's in her 60s. Didn't know how to run a business, didn't know how to do technology, didn't know how to put up a website, didn't know how to do a webinar. She knew none of it. But what she did know is she wanted a different kind of life, and she got honest with herself. I don't want to be begging for a job. They think I'm too old. Watch me.
Ooh, I
And
love
that's
that.
what
Watch
I
me.
want. Yeah.
Watch me do this damn thing. I cannot wait to send this episode to my kids. Can you tell me about someone on the younger side
Yes.
that went from nothing, telling themselves, no skills, too young, I can't do this, missed the boat, there's already too many people doing fitness online or whatever the hell it is that you want to do, too many interior designers, no room for me. Tell me about somebody on the younger end of the scale.
I will. And I want to say, if you're looking around and you think, I want to do this, and you see so many other people doing it,
Yes.
and they're doing it well.
Like podcasts with me.
Yes. The first thought is, there's no room for me.
Yes.
I can't do that. It's already
Yes.
been being done. First of all, there's over 8 billion people in this world. There's definitely an audience you can reach. But the second thing is, if it's being done and it's being done well, that means there's money to be made there.
Ooh.
Right? It's a validation. Look at it and think, oh, great. Mel's a great example that I can make money doing this. Let me try it as
Okay.
well.
Did you hear that, everybody?
It's important.
It's really important, because somebody else doing this is a validation that there is a business and money. And more importantly, people want this.
Yes.
They want this in their lives. And so I want to also say something. There are 8 billion people, Amy. And oftentimes the expert that my kids like let's just take online exercise classes.
Yes.
I feel demoralized when I'm looking at a 28-year-old's rear end as she's doing like the donkey kicks and
Amen,
the hydrant
sister.
thing. And I'm like, she like hasn't had kids yet. I'm in menopause. I'm feeling like the stomach hanging down. This is not great. I want a different expert.
Yes.
I want what my daughters have in that market, but I want somebody that I feel represents me.
Yes.
And so you have a unique take on things. The 60-year-old woman that you talked about that launched her first online course, you know how empowering it is to see somebody teach you when you're in your 40s or 50s and they're older than you? Do you know how empowering it is when you see somebody that has your background, your religion, your skin color, your body type, your experience? You are most qualified to help the person you used to be.
Yes.
And you will most inspire the person who sees themselves in you and your story. And so there are people out there, like when I think about the podcast market, and I saw there are 5 million podcasts on Spotify, 5 million alone. I'm like, it's already taken. What more, what could I possibly contribute? I know that's what everybody's thinking right now. It's already been done. Bullshit. You want to know why? It hasn't been done by you.
Amen. That's it. It hasn't been done by you. You have lived experiences that nobody else has, and you have stories and insights that you share that nobody else will. And you only need a sliver of the internet to pay attention. That's the wild thing here. You don't need 100,000 customers to make money. A sliver of the internet. You get 10 customers. Let's say this, Mel, when I teach people how to create side hustles, let's say you have a $100 program and just 10 people buy that. You've just made $1,000 that you did not have. 10 people, that's all you need. So when you start to think this is too big, I'm too overwhelmed, I don't know where to start, you start with your starter idea and you just get into action.
You know, I want to give a huge shout out to my kid's guitar instructor, Dave Wade. So Dave Wade, he has made a huge difference in our life. And he, you know, I was always barking about how he should do something more. He's a session musician, classical guitarist, plays on all these major stages, and he started a music school in Boston in the basement of a church, and it's slowly grown. And you know, by just paying attention to that wake-up call inside him, there's something more I could be doing. I could be reaching more kids. He figured out how to create an online course.
Yes.
And he launched it before COVID. So all of a sudden COVID hits, and he's done this thing simply as a side hustle to an existing business, a way to take something you're doing in real life and take that and put it online. And he was positioned for COVID. And now he does nothing but virtual lessons with students all over the world, and in person in Boston. But I mean, it just changed his life. Why? It's not because he's smarter than you. It's not because he has more skills than you. It's because he did one thing you're not doing. He's saying, what if it works out?
Yes.
What if I just take this kernel of an idea and I lean into it? And I don't do it overnight, but I start chipping away at it. Sure, look for a job. Sure, work on your resume. Don't forget the fact that 85% of jobs aren't even listed anywhere, and they're gotten by networking.
Yes.
So make sure you're out there talking to people. There's another free tip. I want to take another question from Louise in the UK.
Hey Mel, it's Lou from the UK. I have a question for you. I am no longer in my corporate career, and after 25 years, and I really want to use this time to do something that I'm really passionate about, coaching other people. I've got the qualifications. It's just the confidence that's stopping me. How can I get past the fear of judgment of others to really put myself out there and follow my passion rather than making myself go back to a corporate career that doesn't light me up? Thanks.
Oh, Lou, it's your lucky day, man, because you got Amy Porterfield in the house. So how do you deal with the fear of rejection?
What are people going to think if I'm selling my REITs? What are people going to think if I call myself a coach?
Okay, so first of all, notice in that question she said, I'm qualified. And then she just brushed right over it. That's the thing. And then she said, how do I find the confidence? You don't. It does not start with confidence. You have to tap into courage first. And this is a mindset shift right here.
Okay, stop. You don't tap into confidence, everybody.
No.
You're not going to feel confident is what you're saying.
It's never going to show up in the beginning.
Okay, so you got to tap into courage. So please explain what that means to Lou or anybody listening who's like, okay, I got my idea. I got the wreaths. I got the streaming online. I got the coaching business. Now I'm doubting myself.
Yes, I'm looking for confidence everywhere. Confidence comes from a proven track record of something you want to do. You look and think, oh, I've done this, so I can keep going. You've never done this. She doesn't want to do what she did in her 9-to-5 job. She wants to start something new. That's uncharted territory.
Yes.
There's no confidence in that. So what she needs to do is first say, I'm going to find the courage to do this. Courage is taking the leap of faith, knowing everything I've done in my life, I've literally gotten to this point. I've overcome all of my obstacles. I'm alive. I'm here. She has a proven track record of being resilient, of showing up, doing the work. She said, I have the experience. I'm qualified. So we're going to tap into courage saying, well, then I'm going to create something new based on the fact that my track record is I can figure this out.
You know what I love about this? It's a way to basically just whack self-doubt away. Because
Whack
what
it.
you're saying is, all right, I don't know how to do this. I've never done this before. Not feeling that confident. Imposter syndrome is kind of coming up. I have the courage to try.
Yes.
I have the courage to keep going. I can tap into this thing inside me to say, I know I'm nervous. I know I'm this, but I'm going to fucking do it.
I'm going to do it. Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
Exactly. And so that part is so important. We're not going to chase confidence anymore. The other thing is when I left my 9-to-5 job, I got home, my first day on the job, I'm in my kitchen at my kitchen table, kind of typing away and freaked out thinking, what did I do? And I started to make videos, and I would make these videos about marketing and funnels and all this stuff and publish them nowhere. And my husband would say, I see you making these videos, but you're doing nothing with them. Why not? And I said, I'm so afraid what my old coworkers are going to think about me doing this. They're going to see these videos where I'm not good on video yet, so I look like a mess. And they're going to think, who is she? She looks like a fool. Who does she think she is? She doesn't know what she's doing. So I didn't move forward in this dream I had because I was afraid of what they were thinking. And here's the truth. One, they're not even paying that close of attention. People are into their own lives. They're doing their own thing. And any opinion they'd have of me making videos is a direct reflection of their opinion if they could do it as well. They didn't leave their job yet. They're not going after it. So they're going to tell me all the reasons why I shouldn't or I am not going to make this work.
Here's two pieces that I would add to that. Okay. Lou, if you wouldn't trade your life with them,
Yes.
why the fuck would you listen to their advice?
Yes.
That's number one. Because people who have not done what you want to do have no clue what it takes to get there. So stop looking in the rearview mirror. You're not heading in that direction. Second thing I want to say, the second that you decide that you're going to pivot your life, your social media is not for your friends.
Yes,
If
that's
you
good.
could get this concept into your head, your social media is not for your friends. Your social media is for you and your dreams and your self-expression. And it's meant to put something out in the world intentionally so that people who are looking for you and who need you can find you. That is what social media is for. If you want to share photos of your kids with your friends, text them to them. But when you get serious about making a pivot in your life, the inbound of social media is your board of directors. It's your board of advisors. It's the way that you do total immersion, as Amy just said, into who you're becoming. Your outbound, what you post, is meant to be something like a beacon that draws in the kind of people that are interested in this. And when you can get clear, it's not for your fucking ex-coworkers. It's not for your relatives. It's not for your family. It is not for your friends. I think most of my long-term friends do not follow me because I post 3 times a day and it would choke their feed. And, you know, if they want to catch up with me, they'll text me.
Right.
And by the way, they're not into what I do.
Yes.
They're not into personal development. And so why would they follow me? I'm not putting it out there for anybody else but the people who find value in it. And when you can wrap that around your brain, it'll change your freaking life.
I mean, that's a great example of unbossing. You have the courage to put out content that you know is no longer for your friends to see, your kids or whatever, but I'm going to put stuff out there that's going to attract people that I can serve.
Yeah, you think the CEO of Coca-Cola worries about what their ex-colleagues think about their new marketing campaign?
Amen.
No.
We often say that about Beyonce. Do you think Beyonce or Oprah are sitting there thinking, I don't know if I could do this. What are people going to think about me if I put it out there? They're not thinking that way.
And now she has the world's
Yes.
most Grammys of any recording artist ever to fucking prove that if you just find the courage, forget about confidence, it'll come later. Find the courage to try. Make the damn wreaths.
Yes.
Say you're going to do the online exercise thing. Say you're going to figure this thing out. Do it. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.